Members include the head of the National Security Office, Chung Eui-yong, and the National Intelligence Service Chief, Su Hun. According to the Blue House, the key mission is to broker talks between Pyongyang and Washington. Officials from the DPRK and South Korea are expected to talk about the conditions for a US-DPRK dialogue. Both the DPRK and the US have expressed willingness to talk. Our correspondent Jack Barton in Seoul has the details.
Well, so far, of course, we've heard very cautious words. Both the US, the White House, US President Donald Trump has said he'd be willing, earlier in the administration, he said he'd sit down and have a burger with Kim Jong-un under the right conditions. But since then, he said he's still willing to talk, but they want denuclearization as a precondition. We've also heard from that last delegation that came down to the Olympic closing ceremony, Pyongyang also now willing to talk, not begging to talk, was the phrase, but it wants to keep its nuclear and missile program, so no talk of denuclearization, just normalizing positions. So right now, you know, the positions are wide apart, yet both Pyongyang and Washington saying they are willing to talk. So, you know, clearly there is some starting room here, and we still have a few weeks of relative calm guaranteed because the Paralympics are still ongoing, so there won't be any war games, and also very unlikely there's going to be any missile tests or anything like that from Pyongyang. So there is still a couple of weeks left for this sort of diplomacy to take place. That's clearly what these officials are trying to do. And when they return tomorrow, they'll be briefing President Moon, and then the two top delegates you mentioned before, they'll be heading straight off to the White House to brief President Trump and to see if some sort of dialogue can be fostered.